All right, y'all. I swear to you, I set myself up for success and I was early, but some things cannot be helped. Someday, I need like a limpieza or something. I need a cleansing to get me to stop being so late and tardy. Some people find it as a sign of disrespect, same way I can't remember anybody's name. But in reality, it's just an inability to register time. I'm just, my third eye is too open to see time as anything other than an illusion. Nah, just late to everything, everything, everything. Hope you're all doing good. Lulu, hope you're doing well. All right. What are we talking about? What's going on today? Liberals. Am I right? Hoping, wishing, praying, celebrating, applauding. Kamala Harris tightened up her game, her ability to lie. That's what they're happy about. They want to be lied to so they don't feel guilty for telling you to vote for the Democratic Party, who's quite literally committing a genocide through the Zionist entity. They want you to normalize voting for genocide rather than face the consequences, embrace the fact that we do not deserve, those of us in the belly of the beast, to live comfortably, even to the limited extent that we do. It is we are so spoiled. We are so damn spoiled that we're unwilling to sacrifice anything to be in solidarity with the people who are going through a genocide. It is infuriating seeing how liberals have lined up behind Harris as if she wasn't the VP during Joe Biden's genocide of Palestinians. As if she didn't toe the line, and they want to pretend that somehow she had like a secret diary. Let's not be sexist. She had a journal. She had a journal where she said, if only the big meanie Joe Biden will let me speak my truth. I mean, she had the courage to shut down Palestinian protesters and remind them that she is speaking. But she didn't have the courage to do that to some senile old man who she exposed on a national stage to be a white supremacist. But she has that energy, that courage. She has the time to remind Palestinians that she's the big boss now, that she's speaking. So we're going to go over that and all the liberals celebrating her for it, for adjusting her ability to lie. But we saw the raw truth. We saw how she really felt. And then she got coached and recoached and coached again because she dropped out before her home state. Remember, that's how bad of a politician she truly is, no matter how much liberals try to tell you otherwise. She stands for nothing and she is nothing politically other than an opportunist. I mean, at least Obama had skills. Remember, Obama broke up with his Asian partner, the love of his life. because he didn't want to be questioned the way that Kamala Harris is questioned. And make no mistake, having a white partner does play a part in that. So she doesn't even have the long-term game planning that Obama had. Dr. CBS referred to her as the failed Condoleezza Rice. The failed Condoleezza Rice. But this AstroTurf, not that liberals require much to be galvanized to vote for genociders, has caused, in my opinion, what I think is a full-on psyop. I'm not here to really talk conspiracy theories, but for me, it's quite evident that certain creators and individuals who were going out of their way to pledge their allegiance to Kamala Harris and disrespect Palestinians and pretend as if Palestinians and Black radicals haven't had a long history of solidarity. And of course, in the forefront, calling them out for their bullshit, labeling them as what they actually are, which is, the Black misleadership class, the Black petty bourgeois, came out. The radicals came out and called them out for what they are. And we'll go over that. But there is a division going on online in order to, these Black liberals are calling Palestinian watermelon people. You gotta love the game. You have to love the game. You have to appreciate it. And what game is it? The propaganda game, the psychological warfare that the establishment launches whenever there's any threat to the establishment itself. The self-preservation, right? And you will have people line up thinking, oh, I'll be able to go a rung higher in the ladder and get away from those people. Is there anti-Blackness in Palestine, the Palestinian community? Of course there is. Because anti-Blackness is global. Thanks to the Western powers. But the solidarity between Black radicals and Palestinians is a long, rich history. But these aren't radicals. Those calling Palestinians watermelon people, they're liberal Black people. We're going to go over shortly how the United Auto Workers, my notes, my dyslexia kicked in. The UAW are trying to, essentially sue Donald Trump and Elon Musk for violating union labor practices. And we'll also, going over that, look at the hypocrisy of labor, unionized labor, aligning with the Democratic Party. And to wrap it all up, we'll go over a part, or the most popular part, of the legacy of our great white savior, the last white man allowed to do stereotypical racist accents and get applauded for it, the late, great revolutionary Michael Brooks. We would have had socialism if it wasn't for his early demise. Another white savior that gone too early. Read from if the reformers were sincere to but these professional activists is from an anarchist, but damn if I don't speak if it don't speak to a solid anti-opportunist line. Well, I appreciate that. That sounds interesting as hell. And I just want to apologize if I start like slurring and lisping like Donald Trump. Right before this, and the reason I was a little late, not the only reason. It's my brown DNA. That's the reason that I'm late to everything. I bit the hell out of my tongue. So it was bleeding, like it was just leaking. But I think we should be good. Usual stuttering. Se me traba la lengua, quite literally this time. So what are we coming from? Okay, I have so many goddamn tabs open. And it makes me a little bit anxious because then I have to flip through them. And I have them in reverse chronological order. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over the Kamala Harris. Okay, that's not good. Let's get rid of all that. All right, awesome. You know, let's just review what we missed out on. Okay. This was not the first one, excuse me. Oh, was it? Was this Arizona? Let's see. Yes. Okay. Here we go. This is the follow-up, but let's go to the original. Okay. Let's see here. Y'all ready for our leader, the white woman's favorite politician?
Look, if he is elected, Donald Trump intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
You know what's more infuriating than anything? And it's just the liberal condescending stare of like, I did that. That is what's the most infuriating of this. Knowing that the horde of the liberal cult will applaud her shutting down Palestinian protesters speaking out against her genocide. Her genocide. You know how liberals are like celebrating the fact that she chose Tim Walz? And they're like, oh, well, Tim Walz is great in labor. Tim Walz is great in this. He's a coach. He's all these great, amazing things. She made the right choice. He's going to be a great VP. And because Kamala has not, first of all, given an interview, but second of all, actually told us what her policies are going to be, what she's campaigning on, and liberals still rallied behind her. So we're going by Tim Walz, the VP. And yet, when you talk about Joe Biden and the fact that for at least the last 2 years, let's be generous, the last year, his brain hasn't been functioning. But somehow, in the liberal mind, while they could give all credit to Kamala for everything Tim Walz has accomplished and predict how her administration is going to act based on, again, not her, because she hasn't said a single word of substance, but based on Tim Walz, her VP. Why is it that if Joe Biden's brain has been rotten for a year, why is it that Kamala Harris is not held accountable, if not in totality, at least 50-50 for the genocide of Palestinians conducted by Genocide Joe and Holocaust Harris through the Zionist proxy? You see the way that liberals don't make any actual sense. You want to give Tim Walz all this credit and predict Kamala Harris administration based on his record, and yet you won't hold Harris accountable for the last at least year that Joe Biden hasn't been functioning. Let's watch this from...
Trump intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate.
She tries to ignore it. She tries to ignore them. And remember, this is her genuine reaction. This is her genuine reaction.
Climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking.
She's saying this to people speaking up against the genocide that she and Joe Biden conducted through the Zionist entity. And you know what liberals had to say about this? She needs more practice. She must get her talking points down right. They didn't say, oh shit, she just revealed how she actually feels and her contempt for Palestinians. They didn't say that. They simply said she needs to practice lying. Here's a literal example. One of the largest voices of the online white left space, Cal Kalinske, who loves saying the N-word, by the way, he's still upset that he's not allowed to do that anymore, says, horrible. All she had to do was say, I hear you. When I'm president, we'll have a permanent ceasefire. We're going to stop the war and bring peace. At least half of the Democrats think Israel's committing a genocide. Act like it. Act like it. Perform, act, lie to us as you're on your campaign trail, and tell us that when you're president, after we vote for you, you'll solve the issue. You don't actually have to do it, but lie to us, act like it, so that I don't feel guilty and I don't look like a fucking fraud, a supporter of genocide to my audience. And that way, when you're elected president and you don't do anything, the status quo remains the same. I could look at my camera and be like, she lied to us. She says such great things on the campaign trail. You know, these politicians, you know how they just lie. Next time we'll hold them accountable. Next time we'll push them left. After we vote for them again. After we reelect them again. Because we have to make sure that it's a liberal, a Democrat committing a genocide. Otherwise, it might be a Republican committing a genocide. And we might have some of our rights, some of our privileges stripped away here in this country. Can you imagine? Can you imagine slightly, just a tiny bit, risking living in the oppressive manner that the rest of the world has to deal with, in this case specifically Palestinians? Liberals are literally looking at a genocide conducted by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris through the Zionist entity and saying, well, what are our rights? You wouldn't want us to live like animals and have our rights stripped. So yeah, we have to support a genocide. Because otherwise the Republicans might commit a genocide or continue it, and then we actually will lose something. We'll suffer just a little bit of what Palestinians are suffering under the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris administration. And that's really what it is. If you break it all down, what they're saying is, I refuse to deal with even an iota of the oppression that Palestinians are experiencing. Just the most insignificant fraction of oppression of what Palestinians are experiencing. I refuse to deal with that reality. I am way too comfortable in my life to organize behind, if you want to stay in the electoral bubble, you're saying I'm not willing to organize behind a third party and risk losing some rights in solidarity with individuals going through a genocide because I'm just too comfortable. Because I'm a coward, because I'm spineless, because I stand for nothing and I'm just an aesthetic. It's all performative. That's why Kyle Kalinske literally says, act like it. Act like it. Perform for us so we can continue living in the illusion that somehow you are a lesser evil. Even as you commit a genocide, something that even Donald Trump didn't do. Does that mean you're going to vote for Donald Trump? Of course not. I'm simply highlighting the nonsense, the hypocrisy of a liberal. Here's another angle. This one to me is more bone chilling, to be honest. Too many goddamn tabs open. Here it is. We won't vote for genocide. Kamala, we won't vote for genocide. Kamala, we won't vote for genocide. Look at the solidarity. Look at the solidarity. A white man. You know what? Fuck it. Let's say he's part of the LGBTQ community. Nothing wrong with that. A white woman, a black woman, all coming together to yell at brown and black women, some Muslim, protesting against a genocide. And here we have this hero. Let's pretend that he's Muslim. The Kamala Harris Solidarity Circle, another white man here. White woman, black woman. How beautiful. And he's a union member. Blue collar working man. There we go. Shouting down, and here's a bro. You always need a bro. I think that's either Zach or Gavin right here from the Vanguard. Supporting Kamala Harris as these counter-protesters opposing genocide, the genocide that has been conducted by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris through the Zionist entity. They're shouting them down, telling them to get the hell out of there, to shut up, to go vote for Trump. These people will vote for anybody as long as they have a goddamn donkey next to the name, as long as the color blue is next to the name, as long as Cal Kalinske, Cenk Uygur, Sam Cedar, as long as Pac-Man, all those bastards continue to advocate for the Democratic Party, as long as mainstream media does it, as if independent media is actually independent, as long as they keep supporting and pushing the Democratic propaganda, people will continue to show up. They want to pretend and act as if they have no influence. If they didn't, why do they feel such an obligation to express their support for the Democratic Party, even as they commit a genocide? Here's more examples. Look at this. Okay, let's pull up the second one actually. Before we see this, look at this. We're already here. It's such cheap quality though. Respectfully.
Governor, but you'll soon get to know his wife, Gwen, to whom, you know what? Hold on a second. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Here's the thing. We are all in here together. I'm told an extraordinary number of folks who are here together because we love our country. We're here to fight for our democracy. Which includes respecting the voices that I think that we are hearing from. And let me just say this on topic of what I think I'm hearing over there. Let me just speak to that for a moment, and then I'm going to get back to the business at hand. So let me say, I have been clear. Now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get the hostage deal done. Now is the time. And the president and I are working around the clock every day to get that ceasefire deal done and bring the hostages home. So I respect your voices, but we are here to now talk about this race in 2024.
Bro, do you see how hard she's trying not to laugh? Look at her. She's trying not to laugh and be like, damn, they bought that bullshit. The initial reaction, telling him to shut up, be quiet, I'm speaking, go vote for Donald Trump. The same way her boss, Joe Biden, was telling them, shut up, go vote for Donald Trump. If you don't vote for me, you're not black, right? Her initial reaction was her honest reaction, and liberals ran to excuse it. Not to hold her accountable, but to say, hey, go practice lying some more. Because you're such a fucking horrible politician that you knew what was coming. The counter protesters that your boss has been hiding from has been canceling events before he dropped out, before he got pushed out. That when it happened to you the first time, you couldn't fucking handle it. You couldn't fucking handle it without showing your true fucking face. You vile creature. But now, you went to go practice your lies like Cal Kalinske asked you. Like the rest of the liberal pundits begged you to do. Lie to us, please. Be better at lying to the people. You go do it and you can still barely hold in a laugh. Because you love the applause so much, it brings you fucking joy to get away with it. It's Genocide Joe. Even liberals were making a reference to that, but they don't call her Holocaust Harris. They don't call her the VP of Genocide. It's disgusting. And of course, yes, she centers the hostages as well. And what do liberals have to say about this blatant bullshit? The very obvious facade, the lie that they were clamoring and begging for. Well, I gave you a little bit of a spoiler, but here it is. So much better by the Vanguard. The same individuals that push Zionist propaganda on behalf of Marianne Williamson. And if you're pushing Zionist propaganda, you're pushing white supremacist propaganda. How convenient for the two white men out of the Midwest. Please, please pay attention to these animals, these soulless, moralless creatures. They crawl on their fucking bellies, these spineless cowards. So much better. And look, I paused it where she's already, it looks like, again, it always looks like she's trying not to laugh at these people. The people actually buying her bullshit and laughing at the protesters, thinking that they could stop her from committing a genocide and getting away with it without being held accountable. Without it smearing her name, the same way it did Genocide Show. And the Vanguard says, so much better. Remember, these are the guys that claimed that some of the original Zionists had good intentions, that the project just went astray. These are the same individuals who claimed that the kibbutz were great socialist projects and not settler colonial outposts. They're Zionists. If you spread Zionist propaganda, you're a Zionist. If you defend Zionists, you're a Zionist. They state so much better, saying thank you. Thank you for practicing how you lie to the rest of us, to our audience, to our Patreon supporters, to our subscribers, to our donors, and those that give us super chats. Thank you for lying to them and performing better so that we can continue to support you without any remorse or consequence. National Socialism of the Zionist pioneers was, yeah, such a fucking great idea. And they are truly pathetic. Truly fucking pathetic. But it's not only her though. It's not only her, right? It's every fucking liberal. And I'm saying specifically, there's a large, population of voters who are just uneducated and don't keep up with this stuff. But I'm highlighting the liberal, commentary channels here. The liberal commentary channels, I don't even want to call them pundits because they're fucking talking heads. They're DNT talking heads. So much better. So much better at what? At pretending she's not going to continue to fund a fucking genocide like she has? At pretending that she's not accountable for a genocide? At lying to us? And you're celebrating that? You're applauding that? You're grateful for the lies? So you can lie and profit off your audience? Before we move on to Emma Vigeland's comments, let's read this part here from the Black Agenda Report. One of the issues that brought Biden's campaign to an end was public protests over the ongoing U.S.-Israeli genocide in Gaza. If it continues, Harris' shot at the White House is also in jeopardy. While in Selma, Alabama, where she and other politicians go to pimp off of memories of the liberation struggle, Harris stated that she supported a 6-week pause in the Gaza killing spree. Quote, and given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire for at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table. This will get the hostages out and give a significant amount of aid in. Remember, there was a slick pause between immediate ceasefire and then her saying for at least the next 6 weeks. She merely restated the Biden administration policy. The U.S. can't stop the war crimes anytime it wants. Instead, the government pretends that a 6-week pause in the fighting that it controls is a reality and not a fake effort meant to quiet discontent. When Harris was interrupted by Palestinian solidarity protesters in Detroit, she acted like a frustrated teacher trying to tame an unruly class. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking. The routine didn't go over well, and 3 days later, a change in tone appeared. Quote, I have been clear. Now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get the hostage deal done. Campaign wordsmithing notwithstanding, she may as well have stuck with the first statement because she makes clear that she will not change U.S. policy towards Israel. In the same day, she claimed to want a ceasefire. The Biden-Harris do not allow liberals to separate them the same way they won't allow you to separate Harris and Waltz. Since Harris has no actual, policy, she's not running on anything. The Biden-Harris administration announced another tranche of aid for Israel totaling $3.5 billion, with an additional $20 billion allocated the following week. In case there was any doubt where she stands, her national security advisor made it clear. Quote, she does not support an arms embargo on Israel. Kamala Harris is an opportunist in over her head, but who has decided she wants to be president. She has a history of action and statements that speak for her. She is an establishment Democrat who is beholden to the party's donor class. Of course, that is a description of every president. All one needs to do is pay attention to what they say. This was written by Margaret Kimberly. Seems like a woman's name before they called her sexist for saying that she was acting like an upset school teacher. And I'm not going to look her up, but she's writing for Black Agenda Report. Make an educated guess that she's black, so they also can't accuse her of silencing a black woman. As liberals love to play the race card, white liberals especially, on behalf of the comprador class, behalf of sellouts. So with that actual analysis in mind, look what our favorite Wonder Bread had to say. Here is some by Emma Vigeland. Here is some better news from the New York Times. Kamala Harris reportedly met with the co-founders of Uncommitted before the rally and indicated that she was open to an arms embargo towards Israel. Then introduced those activists to members of her staff. These need to turn into commitment. But you're already applauding her. You're already applauding her for just meeting with Palestinians. How brave of her. And then she indicated that she was open to an arms embargo as if she's not running for president, as if she hasn't been the vice president for the last 10, 11 months now, and has been silent until allowed to speak on an immediate ceasefire, asterisk 6-week pause. Do you not see the game that she's playing? Of course you do. Of course you do. But you're a liberal and your comfort comes first. So you will lie time and time again to your audience so that you appear to be on the right side of history, while literally, in this case, for all these liberal pundits, profiteering off the oppression and literal genocide of Palestinians. Look at a channel like Bad Hasbara. Did not exist prior to October 7th and is just raking in money. The David Mattei guy and who's the other fucking idiot from Bad Hasbara? The main guy? Jesus. I generally do not know his name. I do not know his name. I was going to say, is it Matt Lieb? It's not Matt Lieb, though. What a bummer. Oh, it's a Matt Lieb. Matt Lieb was a fucking nobody comedian that launched this podcast in order to profit off the genocide of Palestinians, and he launched it with the liberal Zionists, the older Mattei brother. Matt Lieb is glorified. Look at him. Glorified by normalizers, by sellouts, and those who are not educated on what a liberal Zionist is. He is profiteering off the genocide of Palestinians. If he even keeps one fucking cent from his channel, Bad Hasbara, that he launched after October 7th, he is literally profiteering off the genocide of Palestinians. Because he's a normalizer. He's a normalizer. He wants to see the evolution of the Zionist entity to become a democratic state in the footsteps of the United States. He does not want to see it end. He does not want to see it be dismantled. He does not support decolonization. They literally profit off of this shit. And they cannot feign ignorance. This is their job, to cover this shit. And look, she gets called out by Sana Saeed, formerly from AJ Plus, and she just reposts this under Emma Viglin's page. 20 likes, 1,000 views. You know that Emma Viglin saw this. She replied to somebody else, other people in this thread. So no excuse. This is what she reposted under Emma Viglin's praise of Kamala Harris for being so brave in meeting with Palestinians, being in the same room as them. Ah, how tragic for Kamala Harris. What a true soldier of God. Uncommitted had said Kamala Harris shared her sympathies and expressed an openness to a meeting to discuss an arms embargo. And what does the National Security Advisor to Vice President Kamala Harris? Look what he clarifies. He says, Kamala Harris has been clear. She will always ensure Israel is able to defend itself against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist groups. That means Hamas. She does not support an arms embargo on Israel. She does not support an arms embargo on Israel. She will continue to work to protect civilians in Gaza and to uphold international humanitarian law. She will continue to work. She will, meaning what? When was she working towards that? When she called for an immediate ceasefire for 6 weeks? Other than that, what work has she done? Because Israel continues their genocide. And they just sent billions more. The Joe Biden Harris administration just sent billions more. But you have liberals like Emma Vigeland trying to lie to their audience, stating, regurgitating the propaganda that Kamala Harris indicated that she was open to an arms embargo towards Israel. No, she was open to having a discussion about an arms embargo. You see the distinction? You see how slick they try to fucking be? And her boss, Sam Cedar, was just today saying, oh, looking over the fucking tweet, this very fucking tweet where it clearly states that Kamala Harris is not in support of an arms embargo against Israel. Emma Vigeland's boss, Sam Cedar, the man that refuses to call himself an anti-Zionist despite volunteering at a kibbutz, claiming, oh no, this tweet actually means that she actually is willing to go hard on Israel. Different on Israel. And I'll pull it up. Fuck it. That wasn't the plan. This is a, unbearable fucking bastards that they are. The Majority Report, Emma Vigeland, Sam Cedar, has over 1 million subscribers. Let me see real quick if I can find this section. Because Sam Cedar and his little fucking pet leftist dog, Matt Leck, were celebrating Kamala Harris and trying to fucking trick their audience into believing that somehow, some fucking way, Kamala Harris, despite that fucking tweet, is going to do something different. Here it is. Fucking animals. Fucking animals that they are. 133.20. Let's go here.
And how specific, I wouldn't necessarily say legalistic, but very specific. Breakdown, and I think we've talked about the tweet that he put out there the other day. We can put this up there. This is going to annoy people because it's a nuanced take. But I've seen other...
Oh, fucking liberals. Always liberals. No. You're going to get bothered. You're going to get triggered. You're going to get upset because I'm so much more intelligent than you. I'm so in the fucking know that what you mere fucking peasant mortals read demonstrates that you're lesser fucking beings than me, than I. So let me break it down for you. And please don't hurt your fucking little heads with your emotions. Don't believe your lying eyes. Believe the bullshit that's going to come out of my mouth because I'm superior to you. I know more than you. Mind you, what has Sam Cedar accomplished? What has Sam Cedar accomplished in politics? Absolutely fucking nothing. Never was an organizer, never was an activist. Nothing. Cenk fucking Uygur, the union busting, genocide denier, sexist transphobe, has done more with his career than Sam Cedar has in fucking 20 years. The bar's in fucking hell.
There's read this in the same way, and we've talked about, I don't know, did we talk about this on air about how cautious people like this are? in the way that they use their language. And how specific, I wouldn't necessarily say legalistic, but very specific. And this was a week ago. Now, I don't know. We can argue as to like what the value of her coming out and saying, something at this juncture is. And you can argue that value both from an electoral standpoint, and you can argue that value from a actual impact on the ground standpoint. You can keep this up there because I want to read this. Phil Gordon wrote, the VP has been clear. She will always ensure Israel is able to defend itself against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist groups. Defend itself.
Do you hear this fucking moron? Defense. That means they're not going to be aggressive. As if Israel, since October fucking 8th, hasn't been using the right to defend themselves, the line of every fucking Zionist and liberal Zionist alike, Israel has a right to defend itself to commit a fucking genocide. And it didn't start on October 8th. That's always been their line. Oh, we're just this tiny fucking country and we had to defend ourselves from the fucking horde of Muslims, brown Arabs trying to destroy us, trying to destroy our settler colonial project. We are the victims. So everything Israel does is defense.
She does not support an arms embargo on Israel. She will continue to work to protect civilians in Gaza and uphold international humanitarian law. Now, the policy options that range from doing nothing to an embargo on all arms, including defensive arms.
Including defensive arms? You see what he's setting up? He's already saying, no, you guys are asking for too much. A total arms embargo versus doing nothing. You're only giving her two options. Either she does nothing or she does a total arms embargo. Me, the intellectual liberal, will tell you there's a middle ground. We won't give them offensive weapons, but we will give them defensive weapons. That's what he's setting up. What are those defensive weapons? What is the purpose of those defensive weapons? To defend themselves against what? And this is a frustrating thing about liberal Zionists feigning sympathy for Palestinians and the liberation of Palestinians. When AOC voted president for the Iron Dome, and the majority report excused it, as well as other liberals saying, well, it's a defensive system. The Iron Dome is a defensive system. Defense against what and who? It defends against resistance forces trying to rid themselves of their colonizers. That's what is a defense against. So even if you say you're asking for an arms embargo, what if she no longer sends aggressive weapons and only sends Israel defensive weapons? Okay, Israel will get their offensive weapons from somewhere else and use their US-backed defensive weapons to protect themselves, protect the settler colonial project from the Palestinian resistance forces, so that they can more effectively use the offensive weapons that they still have and will acquire elsewhere through the billions that the Joe Biden-Harris administration has given them to continue their genocide against Palestinians. And how does this not make sense? I have not done this for 20 fucking years. But at the same time, you don't hear him muttering, stuttering like a goddamn fool that Sam Cedar is. I hope you end up like Joe Biden and go fucking senile and forget your fucking child's name. Both of them. Your son and your daughter. All right. Let's hear him. Let's hear how he bullshits his audience the same way that he bullshit his audience trying to redefine Zionism and claiming that anti-Zionism is a Zionist conspiracy. All right.
So all arms is rather large. You could send, Patriot missiles for Iron Dome or whatever it is, and then say, we're not going to send you any more planes. We're not going to send you any more tanks. We're not going to give you any more ammunition. We're not going to give you technology. We're not going to give you anything else. But that which is defensive specifically for against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist groups.
And who are these so-called Iran-funded terrorist groups? Somebody later in the show makes a comment saying, you know that it means Palestinian forces, resistance forces. And this arrogant fucking prick who has accomplished nothing in his life other than con people out of their money, working class people, says, yeah, of course, no duh, no shit, of course that's what it means. So you're okay with Israel exterminating the only individuals resisting their colonization. So yeah, of course he condemns Hamas. He's done it. But you know what? Not only does he condemn them, but he wants to see the eradication of Hamas and any resistance forces that may endanger his Zionist state. And I say his because we know for a fact, he's admitted to it, he went and helped establish a kibbutz, a settler outpost in Israel. And he refuses till this day to call himself an anti-Zionist. This is why he's spreading this fucking propaganda and trying to split hairs, make this distinction. Why do you think they're calling for a total arms embargo? Because defensive weapons also aid in the genocide that Palestinians are experiencing under the Zionist entity through the U.S. If it sounds like I'm exaggerating, look at this.
And, even like this anti-Zion.
Look what he says. Let me slow it down because can I? No, I can't. My apologies.
Anti-Semitism. And, even like this anti-Zionism, I had this conversation with the other day, there's anti-Zionism is, it seems to me, a creation of Zionists.
He said anti-Zionism seems to me to be a creation of Zionists. Replace that with anything. That's like a Klansman saying racism or racist is a sorry, I butchered the comparison. Because it's so fucking stupid, I'm struggling to come up with something to demonstrate how absurd, thank you, Mag, this truly is. He's claiming, let's hear it again, because oh my goodness, I've seen this clip. I clipped this myself. Because I understand the threat that these fucking liberal Zionists truly are, especially on the left.
And even like this anti-Zionism, I had this conversation with the other day,
he's having these conversations in real life, by the way. He's spreading liberal Zionism to other people.
There's anti-Zionism is, it seems to me, a creation of Zionists, because there's another word for anti-Zionism, and that is I believe in democracy, or I just believe that you shouldn't self-determination, that you shouldn't be oppressing people and preventing them from having any autonomy. But
there's another word for it, and then he goes on a full-on sentence, almost as if saying anti-Zionist means all those things. It's a shorthand to say you oppose white supremacy, you oppose settler colonialism, you support Palestinian liberation. Now that I gathered my thoughts, because of the fucking stupidity, the brain rot that is Sam Cedars' liberal Zionist propaganda and his fucking stooges, Emma Vigeland, who has a personality of fucking Wonder Bread, and Matt Leck, who plays the role of his guard dog. He is his fucking leftist gimp used to protect Sam Cedar and the Majority Report from leftist criticism. So this is what the comparison would be. I've got it. It'd be like somebody saying, oh, anti-fascism? Anti-fascism is a creation of fascists. Because there's other words for anti-fascism. That is the one-to-one fucking comparison. And he rambles and he fucking rambles and rambles just to not call himself, to find a reason and excuse to not call himself an anti-Zionist and his audience not to question it.
As soon as it becomes anti-Zionism, it's like, it becomes like, I hold a special set of beliefs that are unique to Zionists. No, I just have a set of beliefs that I believe that Zionism runs afoul of. And the belief is not terribly controversial. It is one where it's pro-democratic, right. Period.
And notice how he says Zionism in quotes, in scary fucking quotes, because this bastard has literally said, Zionism means a lot of things. He had Peter Beinart come out and say, oh yeah, no, there's cultural Zionism, there's spiritual Zionism, there's political Zionism. No. Zionism, no matter what you want to put in front of it, liberal Zionism, it's a settler colonial ideology, one rooted in Europe, meaning that it is white supremacist in nature, and it's the very reason why non-European Jews are fucking prevented from having children. They're fucking sterilized. I'm glad you asked that. This is inappropriate, like a play on innuendo. Okay, cool. It sounds to me like Sam Cedar is saying that he's against Zionism. You would think that. And this is why I had this ready to pull up afterwards. Here. You would fucking think that, right? But no, not Sam. Not our Sammy boy. Remove from stage. There we go. Okay. I kind of forgot how to do this video file. Thank you. You would think that. Please.
If you believe that Israel has a right to exist.
There's no way for me to slow this down. I apologize. I had to speed it up. At least I don't know a way to slow it down on this application. Maybe full screen layout? No. Okay. So again, my apologies. It's going to go quick. We'll break it down.
Israel has a right to exist. Do you believe Zionist if you believe that Israel has a right to exist? You're not anti-Zionist if you believe that Israel has a right to exist.
The question is, you're not anti-Zionist if you believe that Israel has a right to exist. In fact, this is going too fast. I'll find it real quick. You know why I'll find? Because I was the one that clipped it. And whenever these motherfuckers want to, start pouring out liberal fucking Zionist tears, I remind them what they are. Here we go. Let's share this. Perfect.
I just don't think you're not anti-Zionist.
Let's go full screen and we'll slow it down.
if you believe that Israel has a right to exist. You're not anti-Zionist if you believe that Israel has a right to exist. Do you believe Israel has a right to exist? I don't know about that.
how?
I mean, well, no. Like, I believe Israel has a right to exist.
Let's play that back
You're
just
not
for you.
anti-Zionist if you believe that Israel has a right to exist. Do you believe Israel has a right to exist? I don't know about that.
how?
I mean, well, no. Like, I believe Israel has a right to exist.
He believes that Israel has a right to exist. So how can he be against Zionism? When Zionism, at its core, is the belief that Israel should exist. No. It's not what it's not what Zionism means to me. It's what Zionism is. Zionism is a European settler colonial project that has weaponized the Jewish faith in order to establish itself. The very same way that the United States, it's a settler colonial project that in its inception used Protestant prosecution in order to establish itself. Its origins prior to the United States. I'm talking about the colonial settler project. Fuck its renaming. Its origins were that. The inception was that. So I do not want to see the evolution of the Zionist entity in the footsteps of the United States settler colonial project. That is the definition of it. You ask me, what does it mean to me? No. I'm not telling you what it means to me. I'm telling you what it is. Otherwise, everybody would have their own definition of Zionism. And the only people that do that are fucking Zionists, trying to redefine it like Peter Beinart. That is the propagandistic objective of liberal Zionists. To obscure, to muddy the fucking waters in order to normalize and legitimize the Zionist entity. It's hilarious when you know liberals can never not be condescending. It's fucking glorious. They out themselves every time. From the top, just for you, sweetheart.
You're not anti-Zionist if you believe that Israel has a right to exist. Do you believe Israel has a right to exist?
You're not anti-Zionist if you believe that Israel has the right to exist. Because if you're anti-Zionist, you would oppose the Zionist entity. Well, they sound like uneducated motherfuckers. Many people have their own definitions. Yeah, people could be wrong on a definition. And go check out what Theodore Herzl himself said about Zionism. You don't need a leftist to make up the definition. They defined it because Zionism was the way, the method that Europeans of the Jewish faith or of the Jewish culture were going to earn their whiteness by colonizing barbarians, the uncivilized, the non-European. They would become an outpost for the rest of Europe to literally protect Europe from the horde of Muslims, Arabs, Orientals, whatever fucking racist shit they were saying at the time. Read Theodore Herzl's own fucking words. They explain exactly what Zionism is. And Sam Cedar, as a liberal Zionist, his role, his objective is to obscure that. I don't need to make up or have my own opinion on what Zionism is. We know what it is because Zionists fucking defined it. It's like saying, oh, well, that's your definition of Nazism. Like, no, homie. He fucking put it in Mein Kampf. He explained himself. We saw their policies. We know their fucking actions. Oh, well, that's just like your opinion. Okay, Lebowski. All right, if you say so. But let's let him finish wrapping the noose around his own neck.
You're not anti-Zionist if you believe that Israel has a right to exist. Do you believe Israel has a right to exist? I don't know about that.
How?
I mean, well, no. Like, I believe Israel has the right to exist. I just don't think it can exist as a Jewish state as opposed to a democratic one. Like, I mean,
I just don't think it can exist as a Jewish state opposed to a democratic one, meaning I don't see a future for it. I don't think it can survive as an ethno state exclusively, but it could mirror the United States and ensure its survival as a predominantly Zionist state. Because if it was Jewish, they wouldn't be fucking sterilizing black Jewish women. So it's a Zionist state. It's a European state, right? Because Zionism is European. It's a white supremacist project. Again, if it was a Jewish state, why would they be sterilizing black Jewish women? Do not conflate Zionism with Judaism. That is anti-Semitic, and that is the weapon, the tool, the cover that Zionists use.
I think, you know,
look how he fucking bullshits. And she takes an idiot sip here. She's nervous. She's like, fuck, what do I say? How do I make sure I keep this fucking job? Because on my own, I'm fucking irrelevant, talentless. I've been offered every opportunity. I had every academic advantage. And here I am, a fucking glorified streamer. And look at Sam Cedar just struggling to find the bullshit in there.
And I think we'll probably have a guest on in this in terms of, like, you know, the definition of Zionism is sometimes can be a little bit like sort of evasive. I don't know that I.
Holy shit, I just realized that we have Sam Cedar in the chat. Inappropriate in the window. Sammy boy. Cedar. Come on now. Come out and play, bro. Yeah, honestly, I'm just teasing you. I mean, we've had Pat Socks, MAGA communists in here. Bro, I don't care. Take a fucking joke. Relax. I'm a fucking blue collar worker, baby. I work with reactionaries. I work with some backwards motherfuckers that I break bread with and chill with. We joke here. Relax. I mean, I look at your username and I assume you could take a fucking joke. My point being, the very same way that you go, nope. All right. Yeah. All right. I like this. Thank you. The point being, you just reminded me of somebody. You just fucking reminded me of somebody. You reminded me of my favorite top 5 rapper. If you know, you know. All right. But he literally says himself, he tries to obscure what the definition of Zionism is. And he's like, I want to bring somebody on to help me do this because I'm struggling to do it on my own.
Evasive.
Look, hear it.
A little bit like sort of the definition of Zionism is sometimes can be a little bit like sort of evasive. I don't know that I've ever really considered myself anti-Zionist per se. But if being a
this motherfucker lived in the kibbutz, just like his homie Bernie Sanders, another liberal Zionist, and he doesn't consider himself an anti-Zionist per se. All right.
Zionist is to support Israel as it is currently configured, fundamentally so, that we have a tier of second-class citizens, and then also maintaining, what is now appears to be a permanent occupation, not annexation. Then yes, I am an anti-Zionist. But I don't think like
he just defined anti-apartheid. Somebody who opposes apartheid. That's what he defined right now. He did not define anti-Zionism, which is to be against the settler colonial Zionist project. He defined to be against apartheid, which is simply a tool of settler colonialism. That's all it is. A tool.
I don't think that Israel should disappear. I don't think that they're like, but
or even like, yeah, we don't advocate for people being removed. What we want is, I think, what like Pappy and a lot of people, Jeff Halper of
He said, his leftist gimp. Oh, like Pape and Jeff Halper, and let me name other literal Zionists. Let me name literal fucking liberal Zionists who still live in Israel, who still colonize Palestinian land. That's who I'm going by. That's whose thoughts and opinions, Zionist settler colonial project, I'm prioritizing and singling out. And he does this time and time again. He did it with me when we debated. Yeah. But you know what? I'm an anti-Zionist, but no, I'm not an anti-Zionist, but that's even worse. It's even worse. You see, I'm not an anti-Zionist, but if you redefine what anti-Semitism means, anti-Zionism, then it's fine.
the Israeli Committee Against Housing Demolition, they say one state, democratic, and like I personally, I'm like, yeah, if we can help that, and
then his leftist gimp Matt Legg rambles on, and look what the hero herself, Emma Vigeland, has to say.
Would be great.
Yeah, I mean, when people,
Would be great.
Yeah.
Let's slow it down.
I mean, when people ask the question, does Israel have the right to exist? Of course it does. Of course people in Israel have the right to safety. Of course, like, because it does exist and because people live there. That's why they have the right. Because
look, you do love that circular argument. Of course Rhodesia has the right to exist because it does exist. And Rhodesians have the right to safety. She would be saying that as fucking Custer was massacring Native Americans. She would be saying that. Of course, the United States has the right to exist because colonists exist and they live there and they have the right to safety in the frontier. But thank you, the Majority Report. Thank you for our fucking debate that you refuse to post, even though you'll post your debates with all the fucking libertarians and all the right wingers. But when I expose you as liberal Zionist, you didn't post that. But thank you, because you helped me realize that it's settler realism. You refuse to imagine a world where settler colonialism ends. You would rather imagine a world where the indigenous population is completely and utterly decimated or is completely absorbed into the settler colonial project, so you don't have to ever concern yourself about your role, your position as colonizers on this fucking land. Self-preservation of whiteness is white supremacy.
Be great.
yeah, I mean, when people ask the question, does Israel have the right to exist? Of course it does. Of course people in Israel have the right to safety. Of course, like, because it does exist and because people live there. That's why they have the right. Because saying that it doesn't exist would mean expelling 9 million Israelis that live there. No. The point though is that does it have the right?
9 million Israeli, 9 million settlers that live there, 9 million colonizers that live there. Think of the colonizers. Oh my God, think of the colonizers. What would they do? P.S. Gimp is an older slur for disabled people. I'm advising not to. Oh, heard. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not in the BDS scene, despite how much I enjoy like suffering watching liberals spew their propaganda. I'm not into that scene at all. I'm a good fucking Catholic boy. I don't participate in sin. So my only knowledge and understanding of a gimp is Pulp Fiction, right? But now that you say it, like, yeah, is it Game of Thrones? Is it Game of Thrones that used it? I watched a couple episodes of Game of Thrones and I was like, this looks good, but this looks like fucking work to watch. And it's the same reason I stopped watching House of Dragon. It's the fucking incest. What is it with Europeans and fucking incest, bro? God damn, every fucking show. Incest this, incest that. It's something wrong with the fucking colonizer's mind. Let's transition. Let's transition into what would have been the last topic, the legacy of Michael Brooks. Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one, Mag. In my opinion, everybody's fucking smarter and more educated than me. So when somebody says like, yo, like I was ignorant on that too, I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm not as far behind as, you know, as I know and think that I am. But with that being said, let's see how Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar and Matt Leck. I thought I had a good nickname for him, but I'll stick with leftist guard dog. Destroy the legacy of our great white savior, Michael Brooks.
So it's not a complex issue.
The question of Israel.
So it's not a complex issue. That's the big thing. Super simple. There's one group that has enormous power. It's the most powerful country in the Middle East. It's backed by the United States. It acts on another population of people with total impunity and is never held accountable for anything. So there's no symmetry in the relationship, period. And just as like a thought experiment, IDW people, if we know that if somehow a population of Jewish refugees ended up in West Bank and Gaza, and an Arabic government in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv had an open air prison in what, Jewish Gaza, which they bombed with white phosphorus. They killed civilians indiscriminately, and they had no provisions for medicine. They had an embargo that blocked food, that electricity wasn't running, that there was an over 48% unemployment rate, life expectancy and malnutrition statistics were horrifying. One of the major policymakers in this hypothetical Arabic Palestinian state said, we need to put those Jews on a diet. In the West Bank, there was another Jewish area where there was a little bit more autonomy, but there was regular Arabic settlements where they pulled up the Jewish farmers' foods. They terrorized them with rocks. The security forces broke children's bones, and they couldn't drive their own roads. We'd all have no problem understanding what that was. So there's nothing complex about it. The second part of your question, it's a pure asymmetry relationship. And the question is rights or not. So that's it. It's not complicated.
So that's it. It's not complicated. That is probably the most popular, even before October 7th, the most popular Michael Brooks clip. The late, great white savior and revolutionary, the man that would have brought forth communism, Michael Brooks, the great man himself. Now, what did we just watch? What did we just watch?
If you believe that Israel has a right to exist.
We watched Sam Cedar say what exactly? You know what? Let's pull it up one more time. What did we just watch Sam Cedar say? Oh, it actually is super complicated.
Never really considered myself anti-Zionist per se. But if Zionism is sometimes can be a little bit like sort of evasive in this, in terms of like, the definition of Zionism is sometimes can be a little bit like sort of evasive. In this, in terms of like, the definition of Zionism is sometimes can be a little bit like sort of evasive. Like, the definition of Zionism is sometimes can be a little bit like sort of evasive.
What's another word for evasive? What would you say if somebody's being evasive? What are they being? They're being a little complicated, aren't they? They're being a little complicated. This man can't even define properly, accurately what anti-Zionism is because he's not an anti-Zionist. Meaning, if you're not an anti-Zionist, the same way that you're not an anti-racist, the same way if you're not an anti-fascist, at the very least, you're okay with fascism. At the very least, you're okay with racism. So at the very least, you're okay with Zionism, which makes you a liberal Zionist. Remember, he says it could be a little evasive.
So it's not a complex issue. So it's not a complex issue.
So if it's not a complex issue, according to our white savior, the greatest white revolutionary to ever exist, Michael Brooks, if it's not a complicated issue, why would defining the most basic 101 word on this topic, Zionism, why would defining it be evasive? Why would defining anti-Zionism be evasive? Why would defining the opposition of Zionism be so fucking evasive if it's not a complicated issue, Sam Cedar? And Emma Vigeland just nodded along. Why would that be? Unless you're purposely, actively trying to muddy the issue and make it complicated. You are actively trying to make it complicated. For what purpose? What is your goal? What is your objective? By making something that Michael Brooks, the most fucking famous clip of him around, somebody who overshadowed the Majority Report, he states himself, it's not complicated. It's not a complicated issue. And I would imagine that simple, basic fucking definitions in order to understand the non-complicated issue would fall in the category of not being complicated or evasive to understand.
So it's not a complex issue.
They're actively destroying his fucking legacy. And to be honest with you, it wasn't much. The only reason he gets the hype is because he was probably one of the only funny liberals out there. He was still a liberal when he started doing his racist ass impressions. But he was funny, so he was allowed to do it. You see? But more importantly, he was white and he was on the right side of issues, so he was allowed to be racist. He wrote a book, like against the intellectual dark web. Thin little book. This I knew that this bastard, the late great revolutionary Michael Brooks, didn't have it in him. He wasn't actually a fighter. That's why at the end of his life, he started embracing the whole spiritual fucking bullshit. Read that book, Against the Intellectual Dark Web. I believe it was published by Zero Books. He holds back and he pulls his punches against Joe Rogan because this motherfucker was desperate to go on Joe Rogan. And when the neo-nativist who claims that Zionist colonizers somehow are non-native, they're magically native on Palestinian land, and Ben Burgess went on Joe Rogan's podcast, that motherfucker deep-throated him for the first 10 minutes, saying, I can't believe I'm in front of you, Joe Rogan. I used to watch your shows. And barely brought up Michael Brooks' name. Imagine your homie dies, and his one goal in life was to be on Joe Rogan's show, so much so that he didn't hold Joe Rogan accountable the way he did all the other members of the intellectual dark web, in hopes of someday going on Joe Rogan if he just stayed on his good side. That's cowardness. And look what happened, homie. You died before you could ever be on Joe Rogan, and your homie Ben Burgess, the neo-nativist, they didn't even put you up. They didn't even bring your fucking book because he's also a coward opportunist. But I don't think Michael Brooks was an opportunist, to be honest with you, genuinely. I met him. I was gonna say I met the boy. I'll say that when when I'm older than him in a couple of years. Older than he'll ever be. I met him. And to be honest with you, his sister was a fucking sweetheart, chill as fuck. He was nice, but he failed the fucking test. What's the test? To determine whether or not white people on this land support decolonization on this fucking land. Because I asked him, do you support decolonization in Palestine? And he knew that is not a complicated issue, so he said yes. I said, okay. Well, then do you support decolonization here? Oh, well, it's a little bit more complicated. You know, a lot of time has passed. I'm like, okay, so in a long enough time frame, you would also accept the Zionist entity because enough time has passed. They were successful in maintaining the settler colonial project. And I said it in more rudimentary terms because this was years ago and linguistically, I wasn't there yet. But I've been studying this for a minute. And he goes, you know what, man? This is a really complicated issue. Why don't you just email me? And at that time, I just took it as like, oh, okay, this is how white yuppies, the white managerial class, dismisses somebody that they view beneath them or not worth arguing. But to his credit, he was so kind and nice. And he saw that it didn't give a fuck when he was getting like his shoes shined by everybody else at that event. But I've always been after these fucking liberals in one way or another. I used to be a lot more respectful because I thought they actually cared. They were just misguided. Or they hadn't done enough reading, even though they were all more intelligent than I. But it's not that at all. It's self-preservation. Look how quick on a fucking dime, on a switch, they erase Kamala Harris accountability, responsibility for the genocide against Palestinians, and somehow turned it into being like, no, she'll end it, despite being in the administration that started it and is continuing it. So that's how they're destroying Michael Brooks' legacy. Personally, there wasn't much to destroy. It's fucking glorified. Remember, carry yourself with the attitude of a mediocre white man. And Michael Brooks was just slightly above mediocre. And that's enough to make him a fucking white legend. Our great white hope. The true revolutionary figure that the online left was missing. And we should all be grateful that he fucking died young. Or else we would have seen him surely sell out the way that they all fucking do. I am very grateful for my fucking stoner phase, being high out of my fucking mind and watching Salt Lake City Punk. My homie turns to me and the movie is wrapping up and he's like, hey, you fucking love this shit, huh? And I'm like, yes. Because it reminded me and it demonstrated to me and it showed me, because I didn't live amongst white people, that no matter how radical they may appear, no matter how well their aesthetic, their language is, they will sell out every single time and get comfortable. Because they never had skin in the game. It's all a fucking show for them. It's just pretend. Remember what Kyle Kalinske said. Act like it. Act like you give a fuck. Pretend for us. Because that's all white people know how to do, and that's the only way they know how to operate. Especially liberals, those on the left. They educate themselves on how to be slick. How to make you believe that they're on your side, that they're your allies, that they're different from their fathers, their grandfathers. But give them enough fucking time and they'll sell out. They'll buy in. Loki, I want to wrap it up there, and I might just change the title of the show. I I do want to go over how Sean Fain conveniently, I give him credit. I give him credit for, briefly, let's go over it. Let's give the man some credit, because if you go back, I was giving him credit when other populist right wingers were giving him a hard time over his quote unquote like guerrilla tactic of going on strike. And I give him credit because I'm like, you have to understand that the coffers of the unions, even a large union like the United Auto Workers, is no match in comparison to a giant corporation. Remember, go read Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States. That has its faults. However, the old school strikes that got us the 7-day work week, how we doing? When they would go on strike, they would have to ship out their children to neighboring fucking cities to strangers so their children can be fed. That's the amount of sacrifice necessary. Now the state will take your kids if you dare do that. Now you'll get locked up for child endangerment. Now they will get put in the system. So a guerrilla strike was slick. I appreciated that. But when he came out and endorsed Joe Biden, despite claiming to demand a ceasefire, how are you going to endorse somebody when they haven't met your demand to stop genociding Palestinians? And look how quick he turned around and endorsed Kamala Harris without saying, oh, she's in a precarious situation. She doesn't hold the institutional power that Joe Biden does. How she's never been elected. In terms of like the national stage, she dropped out before getting embarrassed in her home state when she ran for president. Let me push her harder than I would Joe Biden. Nope. He kneeled. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? I'm a decolonial anti-imperialist. And I believe that the only way to get there is through scientific socialism. That is a long-winded answer of saying I support Black liberation and indigenous sovereignty. And I oppose white supremacy in all its facets, including the internalized little Klansmen we all have in our heads. We have to hold ourselves accountable to our anti-Blackness and anti-Indigenous sentiments, and biases. And we have to stop normalizing settler colonial entities. From the Zionists to the manifest destiny. All right.
News, the United Auto Workers has filed federal labor charges against both Donald Trump and Elon Musk. The charges are tied to particular comments made during Trump's X interview with Elon Musk yesterday.
I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go
This is a great fucking ad.
on strike and you say, that's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone.
A senior advisor for the Trump campaign released a statement saying, in part, quote, this frivolous lawsuit is a shameless political stunt intended to erode President Trump's overwhelming support among America's workers. Elon Musk has not yet responded. Well, let's talk to Sean Fain, the president of the United Auto Workers Union.
Elon Musk did not respond, even though he's quick with the Twitter fingers, because he's a fucking coward. I tried. I apologize. I mean, I thought I did at the end. I'm sorry. Look, I got the mic. I set the shit up. Whenever I don't articulate or express myself accurately to be understood by everyone, that's my fault. That's my responsibility. If I'm ever misunderstood, that's on nobody but myself. So decolonial, meaning I oppose colonization, settler colonial projects. Anti-imperialist means I oppose imperialism.
Sean, good to have you here on America Decides. We've covered you a lot over the past year.
Hey, Bob, thanks for having us.
So tell me about the decision to do this. You're either watching or informed about the comments made by Musk and Trump, and you decide to file these federal labor charges. What was behind the decision and to do it so quickly?
Look, because this is the problem in America right now. The rich keep getting richer at the expense of the working class. And people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they sneer at labor law, but they don't care about labor law because they don't care about working class people. They believe in buying off the system and buying off politicians and being able to have their way with people. And, look, employers need to be held accountable in this country when they break the law. It is a federal right of workers to go on strike, and they cannot be fired for that. But, people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they laugh about firing people because they can care less about people and about their jobs and what they do to their careers. All they care about is the billionaire buddies and taking more wealth. And so this is a which side are you on election. And that's why working class.
Damn, he's so fucking good. He's so goddamn good, but he bends the knee to the Democratic Party, who is actively committing a genocide. If he had that same energy, if he had that same fighting spirit that he brings against the Republicans and the right to the centrist right-wing party, the Democrats, he would be somebody worthy of the history books. Why? Can somebody explain to me why he didn't hold Kamala Harris her feet to the fire to say, we will not endorse you. We endorse Joe Biden, but we will not endorse you unless we have an immediate ceasefire. Not that 6-week shit, but an immediate permanent ceasefire. What stopped him from doing that? He's going out of his way to accurately and rightfully go after Trump and Elon Musk. What stopped you from going after Kamala Harris? If you want to use the excuse of the institutional force that Joe Biden is, the sitting president, okay, I'm fucking generous. I'll give you that. But why not do it against Kamala Harris? Cowardness. And just a little bit more of this at 6:31. Because, we've been covering this over here.
And so, look, when Trump and him talk about immigration, that's how the billionaire class makes their living. They want to keep working class people divided. It's divide and conquer. It's the oldest trick in the book. They want to point a finger at the frustration for working class people in this country and why your life sucks right now. And the reason your life sucks is they want you to blame it on a black person, an LGBTQ plus person, or they want you to blame it on some destitute and desperate person trying to find a better life by crossing the border. And it's a shame, but that's what these people are. They play divide and conquer and hoping that works. But,
I'm sorry. Sean Fain. Buddy Powell. Remind me who was going to pass the most draconian, the most authoritarian border policies that according to Lindsey fucking Graham, the Klansman himself, a Republican president could never accomplish without guaranteeing a path to citizenship. Was it Donald Trump? No, Donald Trump actually stopped it. Not because he cares about immigrants. Of course not. As a political move. But when you say Donald Trump stopped Joe Biden from passing the most authoritarian, the most anti-immigrant border bill ever, according to Lindsey Graham, something that Republicans could not accomplish on their own if they had the presidency, what does that tell you? That you're merely opposing the rhetoric that Republicans use, but you're okay with the actions that would align with that rhetoric as long as Democrats are the ones enacting the barbarism. And that is my problem with Sean Fain. He does a lot of great things. But at the end of the day, he's a Democratic shill. And he's very clearly a nationalist at his core. And all I'm saying is, let's be honest about it. That's all I'm asking, is for honesty. Because if I see it, it ain't that fucking complicated. There's a heavier issue of how the Kamala Harris campaign, in my opinion, is engaged in an active psyop, on a psychological operation to divide the solidarity between Black Americans and Palestinian Americans, and internationally. We'll go over it briefly because I think it does need to be addressed. And it's a little fucking heartbreaking to see, if I'm being honest. But it shouldn't be a surprise. Let's go over this.
Uploaded it because I have stitches. So this creator took my video, downloaded it, uploaded it because I have stitches turned off, and then proceeded to spend 3 minutes saying things that are incredibly easily refutable with like really easy Google searches. Like you don't even actually have to be an expert on this subject in order to refute everything that he was saying, and just like logic it out. So I haven't seen anybody else do it, but people keep entering my comments. So I guess that it's up to me. And I want to be clear, I did block this creator like immediately. As soon as I saw his video and I got to this frame, I am making this video because I'm going to support Vice President Kamala 100%. That's when I blocked. I didn't even watch the rest of it because I was like, this is absolutely going to be nonsense. And then I unblocked, downloaded the video, watched the video, and then reblocked because I was like, oh, this is confirmed nonsense. Bear with me because I am going to go through every single thing that he says in this video. So this person starts the video.
So just to be clear, I'm only going to go over this video here. I had planned to do a lot more. And I'll pull it up here. I'll demonstrate. Like I had planned to cover other videos and I had other stuff lined up. And the reason I was even debating whether or not to go further with it is how much, fuel do you want to get this fire going on? This one was fucking heartbreaking. And she was clipped out of context in order to add fuel to the division, the psyop amongst Black people and Palestinians. Not only because I'm already been on here for too long, I won't be able to give it the time and attention it deserves. But I do want to highlight something. I debated whether or not to even show Black people, specifically Black radicals, combating this anti-Palestinian sentiment. I mean, there's Black liberals literally calling Palestinians watermelon people. These are the same people, I'm presuming, that were offended that Palestinians were using the watermelon because it was seen as somehow, recalling America's racist history. The sample characters and the antebellum South. And, Palestinians and Black radicals were like, no, the watermelon was used because Palestinians weren't allowed to have their flag. So the watermelon has the red, black, and green, and white. The Palestinian flag has. So that was their way around it. But, Americans have a very self-centered image of themselves when it comes to international issues. And we'll see it here, or at least a facade of caring about international issues for their convenience and, again, comfort of living in the belly of the beast, in the imperial core. But the reason why I was debating it and the reason why I decided against it is because I don't want to add more fuel to this fire. And please understand, Black liberals are no different than white liberals. They're just able to play the race card. They're able to weaponize oppression Olympics. That's it. That's all the difference is. The talking points are exactly the same other than that. And I don't want to highlight the few black radicals that have been outspoken about it, because it makes it seem like they're the minority. Well, if you're a leftist, if you're a radical, you already are the minority. So while I could pull up 100 black liberals demonizing Palestinians, calling them racist for opposing Kamala Harris, and I could only pull up 5 or 10 black radicals going out of the way to call this shit out, it's going to be like, oh, look, the black community is failing to stop or speak up against this clear democratic psyop. When in reality, it's like, we're always outnumbered because we're out organized. And because what we're advocating for isn't comfortable, and again, requires some sacrifice, some semblance of sacrifice in comparison to the victims, the true direct victims of the imperialist war machine, the meat grinder, the genocide administration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but I hope that I am in saying, of course they're outnumbered, because so are we. The very same way that there's a bunch of reactionary right wing and even, a huge liberal contingency of Mexican Americans, and very few speaking out against like Chicano nationalism or the anti-blackness within the brown Latin community. If we start comparing, of course, you're going to be like, oh shit. All right, let's go over this quickly.
The video with Genocide Olympics. Starts the video with Genocide Olympics. That's how you know that he is deeply unserious. I will never engage in this kind of rhetoric, because what does that mean? So what's been happening in Congo has been going on for longer. Does that mean that Sudan doesn't matter because it technically started last year? Or let's say that it started in the early 2000s, because you can trace what's happening in Darfur back. Okay, does that mean that it doesn't matter because Congo's been happening for longer? This phase of Palestine has been happening since October, but Palestine's been actually happening since 1948. Do you see how this is a slippery slope, how this logic just doesn't hold up? This argument, this fallacy, I suffered longer, therefore I matter more, or it's more valid, my suffering, is something that should be entirely rejected. We should understand that all of our struggles are interconnected and move forward as such. Now, the whole of his video, the entire thing, hinges on one man, Dan Gertler, and what the Democrats supposedly did to curb his violence in the Congo. He says that Obama sanctioned him, and then Trump unsanctioned him, and then Biden re-sanctioned him.
By the way, here are the ways that she's talking. She's just calling out the bullshit, outright lies, and she'll explain the lie that the entire video is based on. Liberals of all shapes and colors claim that she was actually being anti-black by speaking down to the poster, poster, like I guess, yeah, the person who posted this video, weaponizing genocide in order to vote for Kamala Harris, the VP of genocide, Holocaust Harris. So that's how strong they're using the race card. That by correcting the facts, disproving Democratic propaganda, is somehow anti-black. The same way that if you didn't vote for Joe Biden, you weren't black.
But that's not actually true. The U.S. Treasury sanctioned Gertler in 2017. 2017. Read it again. 2017. Do you know who signed that into effect? Who was in power in 2017? Who was in office? Yeah, it was Trump. Crazily enough, he does say 2017 in the video, but then he says by Obama, which Obama was not in office in 2017. Please don't misunderstand me. This is not me saying Trump is good. This is me presenting you with dates. That's it. The actual.
So I'll end it there, because that's really all you have to. That's all you have to know, that the guy directly lied by giving you the information, giving you the date, and then lying to you in your fucking face. That is a fucking psyop. That is a limited hangout, right? That is literally DNC propaganda. Because they make you believe that, oh, this must be true. Look, he has an article that he's talking about. He's knowledgeable about it, but he's directly lying to you in your fucking face. So do not fall for this divide and conquer bullshit. As if somehow the U.S. has ever opposed a genocide. They didn't even oppose the genocide of Jewish people during World War II. That's not why they joined World War II. That's not why they opposed the Nazis and imperialist Japan. They didn't give a fuck. They turned away Jewish refugees. The United States has never opposed a genocide. Please keep that in mind as the liberals cheer and celebrate Holocaust Harris. If you're new here, please remember, I'm never going to ask you for money for sharing my opinion. You'd have to be a sick, twisted opportunist to do that. And there's plenty of them. And they all grew up a lot more comfortable, a lot more wealthy than I ever fucking did. They have the white privilege. They're all white men. Look at the leftist media space. They dominate it. And they're making profit off of it. They expect you to pay for their fucking hobbies. They think that their opinions, and most of them, their first reactions, are worthy of your blood, sweat, and tears. All the hard work that you do, they feel that their opinions are worth that much. So do not feed the streamers, do not feed the podcasters, do not feed the video essayists. If you're a leftist and you're making a profit off of this shit, you're nothing but an opportunist. If you're able-bodied and you're not fucking organizing, you're not hell even volunteering, if you're not unionizing, then you're a fucking fraud and a coward and an opportunist. Because this is just a fucking hobby. This is just a good time. I love talking shit. I love calling people out. Because I fucking hate hypocrites. I ain't asking you for a penny. Just like and subscribe, leave a comment. I only want to get big enough so these motherfuckers can't ignore me. I ain't trying to be famous. I'm not trying to be rich. I'm just trying to haunt their fucking dreams. That's all I want to do. Is that too much to ask? Because I'm a fucking petty ass hating motherfucker. I hate them for being spineless cowards and misguiding people, misdirecting them, sheep herding them to a genocidal administration. Time and time again, these fuckers prove themselves to be nothing more than cowards, bottom feeders, opportunistic vultures. And please help me out in saying it in their fucking faces, because I won't stop. I won't stop because this is too much fucking fun. On Mondays, we go over chapters of books. I'm still figuring out exactly whether or not we'll continue with American Fascist by Chris Hedges. I think we'll knock out maybe one more chapter and then move on. Article Fridays. Go check that shit out. The last one was on the so-called illegitimate Venezuelan election. The next one I think might be on, well, I don't want to commit myself to anything, but I'm looking at some articles right now. A lot of prisoners are dying due to the extreme heat in Texas. So I think we might cover that because it's just the way that we normalize the death and the complete isolation of prisoners in the United States is disgusting and disheartening. So yeah, we'll see what's up with that. Again, on Wednesdays, we take out the fucking trash. Yes, Duel. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. Buenas noches.